Episode 247. Today we're talking about some standouts in last night's chaotic matchup between Buffalo and Detroit. And tons of players got ejected, tons of fights, or tons of after scrum stuff in terms of before and after whistles and stuff like that. It was a crazy game. And Detroit, they ended up running away with this one with a 7-3 win. Patrick Kane with a 5 point game, Alex DeBrincat with a 4 point game, and Marco Casper with 3 point game. I've been really impressed with that line. And obviously you get Larkin with Raymond, and those two together are really dynamic in and of itself. And then you get Kane and DeBrincat together alongside Casper, and those guys are just dynamite. Like you have Kane and DeBrincat on the wings, and then Casper being that young guy at center who can really control the speed, he can manage the tempo, and he's a guy that can really change gears effectively within his skating. So he was doing a really good job of being able to keep up with those guys yesterday, and he's shown a lot of instinctual play with his puck skill, which allows him to be able to maneuver pressure and be able to get around opponents with ease. And I think Casper is doing a really good job of that. Kane was doing a really good job of shooting, and normally he's more of a passer than he is a shooter, but he's creating a lot of shot volume from this game. He's creating a lot inside the house, creating a lot from inside space, and I thought he was doing a great job of being able to attack that space on a regular basis. And he was just doing a really noticeable job of being able to be a passer too. And he was making some really nice seam plays over to Brinkett and Casper, and he was making some really nice plays on the power play that they had because they had a bunch of power plays in this game too. And I thought the brink hit, he had one really nice goal and where he scored off the rush, maneuvered to the inside, and then it was able to score on the short side of the net, which is a really nice release from, I believe, around the top of the circle. And just a really nice shot, really nice wrist shot power, really nice use of his bottom hand to be able to get that power through on the shot. And he did a really good job ripping it top shelf and was just extraordinary throughout this game as a passer, too. And it's ironic because Kane scored more goals than DeBrincat. Usually it's the other way around. DeBrincat would usually score more than Kane. But with DeBrincat this game, he was just making some timely passes too. And similar to Kane, where he was making some seam passes, Royal Road plays. He was making some lateral passing and doing that in the neutral zone, doing that in the O zone, doing that on entries. I thought he was doing a great job of that. Of course, Dylan Larkin was really physical throughout this game. And I think that's an element that he's really developed over the course of his career, being more physical, being in guys' faces more, and just being a guy who can be annoying to play against. I feel like Larkin's really thrived in more of that role where he's become more annoying to play against. I think early on in his career it was more focused on the positional side of things, but now at this stage of his career, he's already so gifted in terms of the physical attributes and the ability to be a really sound positional player, but also alongside that being able to be a guy who can be in guys' faces is something he's developed a lot more over time. And of course, playing with a guy like Mo Sider, you're gonna naturally pick up on some things a little bit more. And I think Larkin's started to do a little bit more of that. Lucas Raymond was just doing a really good job passing and has just been absolutely dynamic as a playmaker this year, making plays, making passes, being able to generate pass volume and being able to pass with accuracy is something that he's become a lot better at. And then outside of that, two guys who have been tremendous throughout the course of the season. Simon Edvinsson was really good with his skating. I think he's the best skating defenseman on this team by far. Moritz Seider was just doing a really good job playing physical, playing the body, being able to shut guys down that way, and then on the offensive side of the puck, being able to leverage a shot from the blue line and also being able to leverage a shot in many different areas. And then Vladimir Tarasenko was also really noticeable, I thought. He showed a lot of strength in his shooting ability, which is really good to see in this game. And he was doing a really good job of shooting the puck and ended up scoring a goal. On Buffalo's side, Zach Benson and Tage Thompson each had 2 points. I thought Thompson was just absolutely sniping the puck. He was taking his chances, taking his shots, and just absolutely ripping them. And when Tage Thompson is firing pucks and using his instincts when it comes to shooting, his shooting ability, he's really dangerous and he's really hard to stop that way. I think Tage Thompson's one of the most dynamic players in the game when it comes to his shooting ability and how he's able to weight transfer, how he's able to release pucks with pace, and how he's able to curl and drag on his shots. I think he's one of the more underrated players of being able to leverage that, especially at the height that he's at, and being able to curl and drag like that. He executes his shots like he's a smaller player. Zach Benson was just all over the physical side of the game and tenacious player, highly competitive player, brings a ton of energy, a ton of pace, and a ton of work ethic. And even though it hasn't necessarily been a terrific year for him, I think he's shown some improvement over the course of the last 2 months or so now. I think he's gotten better over the course of 2025 thus far. And Benson's a guy you just notice all the time wreaking havoc defensively, creating a lot of chances, creating a lot of volume, and just being engaged in many different situations is something that he's really good at and he's become really good at as well. And then I thought Josh Norris was really good. I liked his game. I liked his two-way game. I liked his shooting ability. He's always been known as more of a shooter than a passer, but I think his shooting ability, especially playing with Tage Thompson, those two could really work well off one another, especially those guys being dual threat players each individually. I think Tage Thompson can be a really good passer, but he also can be an electric shooter. Same with Norris. And I think Norris is one timer, something that you're going to get a lot out of in Buffalo. And hopefully down the stretch of the season, he's going to be able to provide some impact and provide that in a sustained manner. So we'll see how things go with him. And then Owen Power, who is the thing is with Owen Power is he's subtle. Like he hasn't rounded out his game defensively yet, and it's taken a lot more time for him to develop offensively. I think he's more of a longer term project and for him to really hit his true upside. I remember when Victor Hedman came in the league, it took a little bit longer for him to really hit full stride as an offensive minded defenseman. And I think we're going to see a similar situation with Power. I don't think he's going to be someone who puts up 60, 70, 80 points right away. I think he's going to be more of a 30, 40 point guy early on in his career and then gradually work his way up to around that 70, 80 point number. I could totally see it when he's in the prime of his career. And it's just going to be interesting to see how things work out with Power longer term. I think he's going to be a premier defenseman in the league. Again, it's going to take a little bit more time for him to really round out his game. He's still got some issues at even strength defense and being able to shut plays down in there, and then even strength offense and also on the power play because Rasmus Dahlin is usually their first guy in their power play unit as their quarterback. So it'll be interesting to see how situations play out with him. But I think long term, Owen Power is going to be an absolute gamer. He's going to be really exciting to watch, and he's going to be a player that will provide a lot of sustained impact for Buffalo down the road as well.